Good evening, everybody. Hello and welcome to your Monday Night Rabble. See if you ever check the description for the Rabble on YouTube. Sometimes it's just got all the information, the Twitter pages, the Facebook pages, the subscribe, the Patreon, the memberships and stuff. There's not actually a description of what we're going to be talking about. Because as Stuart says to me about 5 seconds before we started, Martin, what are we talking about tonight? To which Stuart, my answer was,
not got an effing clue.
yes, that was pretty much the answer. So it's basically, this is a wee kind of behind the scenes moment for people that watch regularly. This show's basically what comes into my head once the intro finishes. That's effectively what this show is. Which is why I need you in the comments to take it in a slightly different direction. So get your comments in, all that good stuff. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I hope you're all well. I'm joined tonight by Kieran and Stuart. Kieran, how are you feeling?
Oh, well, I can't stop coughing and my throat's like swallowing glass, but apart from that, I seen Dessa score a hat-trick, so son, you can't say every day. So, all right, mate. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. You know, I was watching that game. Dessers misses that chance and then scores a hat-trick, and I go, I think I've been wrong my whole life. There has to be a God. There has to be. Because that's just no right. That's just no right. Stuart, how are you?
Yes, all good. Happy to be here. Looking
Are
forward
you
to.
though?
Oh, absolutely, Martin. As always, looking forward to see what we chat about. As it gets made up on the hoof.
So much, because you're one of these guys. You like structure.
I do. Yes.
Yes.
As a project manager, yes, it's spreadsheets are my favorite thing in the world. So yes, structure should be part of everybody's life, and you have zero structure.
I'm getting done.
Which when it comes to running a business scares the bejesus out of me. Actually,
it scares me as well, Stuart. It absolutely terrifies me. The message will say, "So how's things going this month?" I don't know. People are still watching apparently, which is always a good thing. But you'll be happy to see my message on the night, Stuart, about the schedule now. I've got myself a spreadsheet.
I did quite like. I'd like to see it.
You wouldn't.
Is it color coded and all that? Has it got formula and all that worked into it? No.
Well, there's two colors. There's black and red.
Right. Okay.
So
what does that stand for? Available and not available?
No. I've got everybody's name down, and then the people that I'm going to put on the shows, I highlight them in red so that I know if I've not put too many people on the same shows. You might like it. You never know.
Quite technical sounding.
It's very technical. I mean,
too technical sounded for the Rabble.
It took me about 40 minutes to figure out how to use a spreadsheet because I've not used one since admin in like fourth year. So
I'm surprised you didn't pick up the phone to me. You pick up the phone for freaking everything else, to be honest.
I was gaudy, but it was like 2 a.m, and I thought I probably should have thought about it.
You'd have been on it plums.
Right, I'll tell you what then. Now that we've had that wee rabble, if you like, which by the way, folks, it is the name of the show. So when we do have a rabble, don't get annoyed. It's the name of the show. Stuart, Fraserburgh game. What did we learn?
Not a lot, to be honest. I think it's one of those games where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. To be honest, I think you kind of mentioned that yesterday in the post match where if Rangers run out 8-9 winners, the response would have been, well, it's Fraserburgh. If they win 1 or 2-0, then they would have been getting criticism because it's Fraserburgh. They've run out 5-0 victors. It's probably somewhere in between. I think it was very, very comfortable. Maybe slightly surprising in terms of the team selection at the start. I thought maybe there'd be a few more youngsters in there, but fair play. Some came on. I think some who did come on played reasonably well, actually. Some who maybe got the opportunity from the start, and that includes probably more experienced players, maybe some who have been in and around the first team for longer. I'm not sure that they took their opportunity as much as they should, and maybe we'll chat on some of them. But overall, look, I thought it was a comfortable afternoon. Credit to Fraserburgh for one, how they played, how they were set up. how well organised and the effort that they put in. Credit to the fan base that came down to see them. Credit to the Rangers support as well, by the way, because I was not expecting 35 to 36,000 people to be at Ibrox yesterday. So that's to turn up on a Sunday afternoon with the game live in the BBC. I thought that was a great effort. Tickets weren't that cheap for that game. So, fair play to the Bears for turning out in force. And look, the most important thing, you're in the hat for the next round. So job done. Good day out. I'm sure there was a lot of people's first games, including my good ladies. So she's got the bug for it. I think she now believes she's the lucky charm that, that's it. She'll be going every week now. But I'm sure
start taking her away from home then, please, Stuart.
I might need to do that. But yeah, look, I'm sure there was lots of, families and stuff like that, maybe getting the opportunity to go at the first games. And yeah, they've seen some good goals and a Rangers victory, which is the most important thing.
I think the happiest person yesterday, Kieran, without a shadow of a doubt, was the Fraserburgh chairman and the Fraserburgh accountant, who I don't think will maybe need to reread the tax law rules, I think, after that game yesterday.
Yeah, it was refreshing to also hear the manager's post-match. He had nothing but praise for the club, which I thought was really, really good. The way that he was speaking, it was just like somebody was happy to be there. Like your team, he knew they were going to get beat for the off, right? But the positivity that he had in his post-match was brilliant. He was having a laugh. But more importantly, he was saying how proud he was of his players. He was also really buzzing that the hospitality the club showed them and the players. It was a big occasion for their players. They had a lot of their academy as well that were there. A couple of really young guys getting a chance, which was good to see, because sometimes that could be their biggest game. Some of those players, maybe the older ones, won't go on to play a bigger game in a bigger stadium. So it was just nice. It was a feel-good factor around the place yesterday. I don't get to go to that many games because of my DJing, but I managed to get there yesterday. And it was just a feel-good about the place, even though we knew it wasn't going to be the most intense game with bums off seats constantly wondering what's going on. It was just really good to see. Apart from the boos every time Tav touched the ball and Barron touched the ball, I think some of the boos for the Rangers fans when Tav touched the ball, to be honest. But
you need to get a grip with that. You really need to get a grip. See, if you don't like a player, right, or Kieran, you don't think a player's good enough, right? Fair enough. But you don't need to boo them when they touch the ball.
There's no need. There's no need whatsoever. But just to round up that point there, that I thought that the manager's post-match was really good. It was just nice to see somebody not struggling for what to say and trying to watch what they say. He just said what was on his mind and he was happy about it.
Yeah. I think that's something that we don't really ever think about, Stuart, because we're obviously we're all focused on Rangers, right? 99.9% of the time, it's just Rangers, right? Unlike other supports. For us, it's mainly Rangers. Kieran mentioned there that, Fraserburgh were just buzzing to be at Ibrox and be on the park. Is that something do you feel that's maybe lost a bit in football now? That players, regardless of what level it is, whether it's, if I take an example of a Ross County player, going to Ibrox, wow, I'm at Ibrox. Is that something do you think that's lost in football now?
Maybe slightly, and I think potentially, again, given the fact that teams like Ross County will be coming to Ibrox a minimum of twice a year and stuff like that, the crazy setup that we've got, playing 4 times. So look, that's the kind of the beauty of the cup, isn't it? That it can, if a team does well and gets into the draw with the big boys, that they get that opportunity. That might come around that either a Rangers going to their ground or, like say, financially for them, they come to Ibrox. So yeah, Kieran's right. It was there was a kind of relaxed atmosphere about Ibrox yesterday. Fans all mingling together. There was Fraserburgh fans in the fan zone and stuff like that, which you don't normally see. So it was just it was like I say, a nice day out. Yes,
should that happen more often, Stuart? And I'm not talking about Rangers and Celtic fans, right? But Has football changed a lot, or is it still the same as what it used to be in the 70s and 80s, where the banter between supporters now, it's not banter, it's bile now, it's hatred? Or has it always been like that?
I think it's probably always been like that. There's always a kind of tribalism to football. I think you've just got different ways and methods now of showing that with social media, with podcasts, all those different sort of things. So it's probably more visible, whereas it was maybe contained to at the games, or chats within pubs and whatever. So it's probably just more visible to everybody. I think there is for whatever reason, I think there is a bitterness in Scottish football as well, which I think manifests itself in certain sections of other club supports. I don't know why.
And Devils.
Well, yes, I suppose, and ours. But I think, there does seem to be a sense that, certainly some club supporters view Rangers as the big bad guys for whatever reason. They hold that opinion. And yes, they want to let that be known. So yeah, I think it was a nice change yesterday. Refreshing to see a manager and his players. And by the way, they took it seriously. It wasn't as if they just turned up, just for a kickabout. They were really well organised. He actually played with two strikers. He said that, and he's, some top flight teams should take note of that. So, they didn't just come here for a jolly, and they got they get beat, but they weren't humiliated. They weren't embarrassed. They've got their massive payday. And what I thought was really interesting to hear him talk about was one of the reporters saying, so what you're going to, you'll be hoping for some of that money for your transfer budget. And he talked about that club having an ethos about, maybe he might get slightly more in his budget, but actually they're all about youth development. And I think somebody mentioned it in the comment, you brought it up. They were bringing on a young kid that's went to school today, and is probably lording it up at school today because he's just played at Ibrox against Rangers. So they seem to have the right kind of culture in their club. And I thought they were a credit yesterday to themselves. I thought they did really well.
I mean, I think more clubs in Scotland, you probably have that ethos of youth development, and I include us in that. I really do. And I think we are one of the worst clubs in Scotland for youth development in the way that we bring you through. And Kieran, that nicely segues us on to Rangers B team. It's disappearing right before our eyes, Kieran.
So I wonder if it's maybe kind of what you just touched on there about us trying to do more for our youth development, because it's like we're trying to kind of now not get rid of the players that have been kind of lingering about this B team, but there's links of Lowry going away. We've got players out on loan. It looks like we're maybe going to try and integrate some players into the first team a little bit. Is that maybe trying to clear the slate so we can really focus on bringing youth through? And if that's the case, I said this on one of my first pods, the B team, if we're not in a league, is absolutely pointless. It's just the occasional friendlies. What should have been happening is players getting put either to lower down teams or in the championship. Like, I still thought that kind of like Leon King, if he wasn't getting a chance at Rangers, could maybe do a job at a St Mirren or something like that. Or if they didn't think he had enough games to do so, somewhere like Wraith Rovers or something like that, that they can showcase their skills, but also be prepared to play kind of the punt and run kind of things, but to be a bit more physical. Because when Leon King, he hasn't had a great chance at us. He came in when he needed to, and the amount of scar tissue that a boy must have for some of the thumpings that we got when he was in the team. For example, the Liverpool game. Leon King at his level should never have been thought about, because we never gave him a chance to represent himself in the smaller games. So the B team, you couldn't even really say it a B team. It was more for a punishment for first team players or a couple of friendlies. It was absolutely pointless. So if we really want to try and encourage our youth, we need to really be just trying to build from the bottom, bring younger players in through the academy, and if they're not good enough, get them out. Get them out on loan if you see potential. If you don't, try and move them on. If they're good enough, get them training with the first team and have it like a conveyor belt system.
Well, 2 points here, Stuart, right? Well, the same point, really, just made by two different people. First of all, for Gallant, great picture, by the way. Is getting rid of the B team a financially orientated decision? And then Lindsay Robertson's coming in. The B team stinks of cost saving. It also makes us a buying side forever. Team should have never left the Lowland League. Stuart.
Is it a cost saving measure? I've heard through the grapevine how much some of these young kids are getting paid. There's nothing cost saving about it. Rangers are spending a fortune on bloated youth squads that are not doing anything. So something has to change. I'm actually delighted with this news, Martin, because unless the managers talked about unless Scottish football changed their position and allowed a Rangers B team to play at a higher level than the Lowland League, then I don't see what the point of it is. I think our youth setup should then be a point where we bring kids through, and then if we believe that they've got an opportunity to make it at Rangers, we then start putting them out on loan for them to get experience. We'll probably still be paying the majority of their wage, which, like I say, from what I've heard, for some of them is considerable. And hopefully we then start to get some benefits from that. You said, I don't know how many times, Martin, it's probably been the one topic that me and you have had the most conversation about on these pods. And it's really difficult because you don't really know what the answer is. You're desperate for your club to bring through their own and see them progress into the first team. It's not happening enough with the current setup. They clearly believe that the Lowland League isn't going to do it in terms of what they'll come up against, the standard. They believe that some of their players are just too good for that kind of standard. We've then seen some of the things that, with Lowry, with some of the tackles and all that happened to him in the past. This best fee best approach that they took, again, hasn't worked. Playing the odd game every 3 months isn't doing enough to get these, some of which are really talented players, into a position where they then start really knocking the door down to the first team manager and saying, I should be in and around your first team squad. So I'm okay with it, because I think a new approach was needed because the status quo just wasn't working.
And see what you've just said there about I really struggle. I've got a slight speech impediment, so I struggle to say Lowland League, right? It's exactly the same with the Reserve League. What you've just described there is exactly what the Reserve League's like. One game every 3 or 4 months. And I will say from experience, not me playing, but watching somebody close to me who went to the Lowland League for 6 months, great for getting your fitness. But in terms of football, in terms of your footballing ability and progressing, the Lowland League's nowhere near where you want your players to be. Absolutely not. I've seen one game in League Two, and it was such an upgrade. And it's only one league above. Such an upgrade on the Lowland League. It's actually unbelievable. So you've kind of got me thinking there, Stuart, a wee bit, to be brutally honest with you, that I think after seeing what I've seen, because I've been in amongst it, and I've seen a lot of games in the Lowland League, and I've now seen a game in League Two. There is a massive difference in what's the word, Stuart? Quality. There's a massive difference in quality. So yeah, I'm kind of on board with that. But Kieran, does that then mean, well, what happens then when you're too old to play under 18s football, right? And there's no reserve league. Rangers aren't even in the reserve league. There's no B team games. If you can't get a loan, then what happens to you?
So the first point I was going to say is the only thing I think it was good for was keeping Hadji kind of a bit fitter with matches. And Quinton Inciala looks like having a good run in that team has kind of brought his confidence up a little bit, because he's maybe adapted a bit better to being in Scotland than just being kind of stuck in the cold. I think that's maybe a slight positive you could take from it. But yeah, as you're saying there, I honestly don't know. I think it then just becomes the free agent mark, because if you can't get a run in the team when you've passed that level and you can't get a loan, then I think it is just becoming a free agent, because I don't think we can not even waste talent, but waste more time housing players that aren't going to make a difference to the main team. They're never going to get into the main team, but we're keeping them sheltered because we're not sending them out on loan or something like that. And then, as Stuart says, it just builds a bloated squad.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a duty of care, Martin, as well. You know, not every kid that goes through the doors at Auchenhowie is going to make it into the Rangers first team.
Well, very few are.
Very few, yeah. So it's going to be few and far between. But there's also that duty of care about, doesn't mean they're not talented. Doesn't mean that they can't have a career in football. It just probably won't be at Rangers. So, and I know they do lots of really good stuff. If they release players, they try and give them, I think they give them like packs and stuff like that they can then use to try and get a different club and different types of experiences. But actually getting experience of going out and playing football on a regular basis will be the best experience that they can get to possibly then make a decent career in the game. So I think there's a duty of care there. I think there's probably talented football players that probably just go by the wayside at the moment because they're not out there. They're not gaining that experience of playing 25 to 50 games at a decent level, and then being able to kind of move that on at whatever level that takes it, and they maybe drift away from the game and you lose them. So, like I say, I something had to change. This might not be the answer. Only time will tell. But I think the one thing you can absolutely say is that what we're currently doing isn't working. So why not give something else a chance?
Do you want a softball question, Stuart, that you can hit a home run with?
100%.
Right, I'll give you this, right? Kieran, feel free to jump in on this as well, right? Probably the easiest question I've ever gave Stuart. Why did our FA not give a damn about kids' progression, Stuart?
Yeah, cheers for that. I knew there was going to be a freaking a kicker to that softball approach. I mean, that is a pod all on its own, isn't it? And maybe that's something that we should, I know we've maybe talked about it before, but maybe we should revisit that and do a show on that. I think the last time I was on, I talked about those in the Blazers just wanting a jolly to mingle with the bigwigs at major tournaments, and that's all it cares about. If Steve Clark can get them qualified, then there's money coming into the coffers. And I appreciate Scottish football isn't the biggest league and what it can attract. But my God, we shoot ourselves in the foot with some of the deals that we do, and also just how we showcase ourselves. I generally think things like maybe the trialling of new technology or potential new rules and stuff like that, Scotland should be putting their hand up for all of those sort of things. And people might say, oh, you've been a bit of a guinea pig, but at least it will get maybe, generate a bit of interest. In terms of the youth development, I honestly do not know why this country has such a problem. Talented players, 17, 18, but then that jump, so then that 19 to 20, 21 bracket, how many of them seem to just fall away and you never hear from them again? And for a country of our size, we should be focusing on youth development and attempting to bring players through that way in order so that then we are qualifying for major tournaments more regular. It's $1 million question as to why there just seems to be a lethargy in terms of our approach to it.
I think back to even before I was born, Kieran, the amount of players that Scotland produced that spent a lot of time, obviously down south. Some of them went abroad. I mean, obviously, a few days ago, the sad passing of Dennis Law, who's widely regarded as one of, if not the greatest Scottish player ever. We used to produce these guys on a regular basis. Ken Dalglish, Graham Souness, Liverpool's team was full of them, and then we also produced the best managers, Shankly, stuff like that. The footballers that we produced in this country, Kieran, were phenomenal. And now, who could you honestly say out there has been a world-class Scottish footballer? Because I still wouldn't even class the likes of Andy Robertson, who's won Champions Leagues and English Premier Leagues, as world-class. No. Billy Gilmore, has he shown that? No. I'm trying to remember the last time that Scotland genuinely produced a world-class talent.
Yeah, I mean, it's
even Wales produce world-class players.
I just don't think they care. I mean, the closest player that people are going to say is Andy Robertson just now. But then even him was basically shunned as a kid as well. He was put from club to club because he was deemed not good enough. It's just they just don't seem to care at all. And as long as it's not affecting them, because a lot of people haven't said anything. Some clubs have maybe kicked up a fuss about it, but some clubs won't. And it just seems at the moment that the FA don't care. They don't care if kids get a fair chance. Like, realistically, how many more times are we going to see Mason Munn in goals for Rangers? If you've got Clement saying that Bailey Rice is going to be in a Munster first team, right, okay. So that's one. Maybe Curtis and Lovelace might get more of a chance. But we've already got players out on loan now. Leon King, if I was Leon King in this instant, I'd be asking to either go on loan or rip up my contract, because he's getting nothing at all. He's getting maybe the odd 10 minutes here and there. But when you've got other clubs that could benefit for these players, these other clubs could really benefit for these players. Some of these players coming from a higher league could be the difference in a title, promotion, playoffs, etc. The FA just don't care unless it benefits them, and right now they must not see it as benefiting them.
I wonder, Martin, if a wee change to the league structure.
Well, we'll come to that. Believe me, we'll come to that.
Bigger leagues and stuff like that. I just wonder if that would. Rangers and Celtic will always have this slight issue, I think, about the need to win games, and whether we like it or not. You should be
able to win games with an academy player in your team.
I get that. I do understand, but there is something about that environment that I think managers feel that pressure. And that isn't just by the way, if you look across the city, they're hardly bringing through that, so it's not just a Rangers problem. And rightly or wrongly, I think there is something in that, the need to win games. I do wonder, though, bigger leagues and stuff like that, would that encourage, take less, some of the pressure off? My God, we just need to keep ourselves in this league, and we'll do that. Will this 18-year-old boy do the job, or will they just am I better with that 32-year-old who's a pro and who's been around the block? Will they do a better job? I sometimes think, maybe the league structure would help if we removed or created bigger leagues. I
mean, there's a comment there for Gallant about, the last big homegrown player that Celtic produced was Kieran Tierney. I don't know, did he come before or after Callum McGregor? I can't remember. But Kieran Tierney, for me, as painful as it is to say in a Rangers show, is probably the closest player in his prime, before he got all his injuries, is what Scotland had to a world-class player. If I'm being brought, and that's just my own personal opinion. I thought he was a great player.
You could count on that as well, that at the moment, Ben Doak, he came from them as well, and he looks like he's starting to gain a bit of interest. I mean, you had Gvardiol on skates. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And there's people saying Scott McTominay. Sorry, Scott McTominay's English. He's not Scottish. He's English. So that's not somebody we produce. That's somebody that the English system produced, not Scotland. But we could talk about this all day. Stuart, if we just stick on the youths for a second, going back to the Fraserburgh game, any young players stand out for you?
I did like the look of. I thought Bailey Rice when he came on. I thought he had some nice touches. A couple of decent attempts at goal. I think what you can see from him, he's a cultured footballer. You can just get that sense about him, the way he controls the ball, the way he passes it. He's always got a bit of space around him. So I thought I was impressed with how he came into the team. I thought Finlay Curtis, that's the first time I've seen Finlay Curtis. And I know there's been quite a clamour, and certainly in our group chat, about him getting an opportunity and getting some time. I did like the look of him. I thought he was quite direct. Got his shot away quite a few times as well. So clearly knows where the goal is. So I was quite impressed. Nobody let themselves down, or anything like that. The goalkeeper had that wee nervy moment and stuff like that. But again, I thought overall, what I like about my God, 18 years of age, the stature of him already, you could see that there's a reason why Rangers have given him that 4-year contract. Maybe looking for a wee bit more from Zach Lovelace, maybe, but I think that first half was just a bit sticky and so on. So I thought, I think they all did fine, but I thought Rice and Curtis were maybe the standouts in terms of the time that they had on the park. I was quite impressed by them.
It's really difficult, Kieran, to be honest, because I was actually, believe it or not, I wasn't planning on bringing all this up, but I was sitting thinking about it earlier, and I'm going, right, Finlay Curtis, not so much Bailey Rice, but, Zach Lovelace, they're not going to be given many more opportunities to show the manager what they can do unless the manager believes in them. So, albeit it was just against Fraserburgh, a lot of pressure on the young boys.
Yeah, absolutely. I said
I'm sorry to cut in, but I mean, I seen somebody earlier saying that somebody complained about Mason Munn because he gave the ball away. I'm sorry, 18 years old, first game at Ibrox, and he passes the ball away. So what? Andy Gorham, who was world class, who, by the way, was English, for somebody in the comments, Andy Gorham made mistakes. He was still a world class goalkeeper. See this, we judge players straight away if they make a single mistake, and maybe I've been guilty of it myself. Then if that's the case, I need to take a look at myself. But by God, Kieran, 18-year-old goalkeeper. Some people
I think everyone's guilty of it, to be honest. But I mean, I was saying that Jack Butland doesn't pass the ball away. I was saying that he doesn't make mistakes, and he's our number one. Does Liam Kelly make mistakes? Aye, it's just mental. Look, everyone is probably a little bit judgmental when a new player comes in, or a player comes in for the first time and they maybe not had the greatest game, or they've done something silly, right? Which is fair enough, it's your own opinion. But as we said, he's 18 years old, his first game at Ibrox. It wasn't like there was only a couple of hundred people there. It was a pretty decent show up for the fans. But I just don't understand this having to have belief in the youth, because it's not exactly like our players are doing great at the moment. I mean, Lovelace, he didn't do anything spectacular, but is he better than what we have at the moment in Matondo? I mean, in terms of, apart from pace, I think Lovelace is better. He's got a bit about him. He was quite quick with his feet. Curtis, I thought, done quite well, made those runs. He looked like he wanted the ball. Curtis really wanted the ball. He really was trying to show that he was wanting it off Hadji. He was trying to make the run. He was getting annoyed. He didn't set up the last goal, but he was part of it. Rice, it was a shame that he got hurt straight away as soon as he came on. You could tell that maybe knocked him a little bit. But yeah, I don't think they're going to have that many chances to play. And with such a turgid season we're having just now, why not put them on for the last half an hour? Get them used to playing at Ibrox. Get them used to to play in that type of atmosphere.
Martin, can I just come in on that? So a couple of things. This season's been a shambles for Rangers, but they've got to now, in a way, try to seek a positive from it, which is to say, let's use this opportunity to try and give some of these players some time on the pitch. And I wonder if there is, so do that between now and the end of the season. Yes, the Scottish Cup's important. We still want to be playing, making sure that we're picking up results. But I think there is an opportunity here to take advantage of where we find ourselves and do that. And I have a slight optimism that if you look at that bench yesterday, there's no Dow, there's no Matondo. So I think we know they've been told they can find other clubs. I think what you're now saying is the manager said you're not even going to be in the squad now. So somebody's got to take their place, and you would hope that is a Bailey Rice. It can't be. It surely isn't just a coincidence that the manager tells you that Bailey Rice has now been promoted into the first team dressing room at the same time that Kieran Dowell is moving, isn't even on the bench and has been told he can find a new club, and the same with Matondo. So I think hopefully that is a sign that they will no longer be involved, and your Rice, your Lovelace, even every now and then Curtis, etc., will be getting that opportunity. What Rangers need to do is win games more comfortably, so that actually if it is given, be 3-0 up, so that then you can give them the last 25 to 30 minutes in games and gradually bring them in. But I've got some slight optimism when I looked at the bench yesterday. The fact that they're not even in the squad says to me that's them. Whether they're still here after January, they're not going to be in and around the team. And actually, it's the youth players that are now going to be taking their place.
Yeah, and maybe that's a discussion as well to have about players leaving. We'll speak about Lowry as well, obviously. I disagree with this, Kieran, from our very own Ian. I felt Lovelace didn't take his chance, to be honest. Do we think the manager could have started with more fringe youth players than he did? He probably could have, maybe should have, Kieran, started with some more fringe players. But in terms of Lovelace not taking his chance, I felt Lovelace was fine. He was good. He was taking players on. He was trying to create. And I think if we're at a position where we're deciding whether Lovelace is good enough in a game against Fraserburgh, then what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think Lovelace was amazing. I didn't think the team was amazing. I think Lovelace, again, he didn't do anything to stand out, but he didn't do anything that you thought, oh, for God's sake, what's he doing that for? He maybe had a couple of shots that weren't the greatest. But he never done anything that I thought he didn't do that great. I mean, and I don't want to keep bringing this boy up, but every pod I seem to do, I end up mentioning him, McCausland. McCausland is not Rangers class. He's been about the first team for long enough for us to realize he is not Rangers class. People are saying that he got his goal and everything. He does the same thing every time, cuts inside, and it happens each and every time. The Fraserburgh defender started to get wise to it after the third time he'd done it, and just showed him that side. And I know we talk about youth and trying to big them up. McCausland's had enough chances for me that I don't think he should be at Rangers. I think he should maybe be sent on loan to try and develop his skills, because I think there's a player in there. He is still young as well. But I just, in terms of starting, I would have maybe started Rice at the start, because Clement's kind of said that Rice will be basically not given a full chance, but as Stuart said, Kieran Dowell's going. It's kind of one in, one out. But I thought Barron was brilliant. He was absolutely excellent. He had that fire. Even though it was against Fraserburgh, he still wanted to win every single ball, win every single tackle. He left a bit on them. I really liked how good he was doing. But I've not seen enough of the youth players, other ones, to say they should be given a chance, because they're not getting that chance playing in the odd cup game and basically friendlies. So I just feel that Lovelace didn't do amazing, but I don't think he did bad. Do I think that he'll improve this Rangers team? Not necessarily. I don't think that he will be a long-term answer. But again, until we see him more...
If you had 10 minutes left of the game, Kieran, and you did a goal, and you had two options, Zach Lovelace or Rabbi Matondo, who are you bringing on?
Lovelace for me.
Does that not say everything, Stuart?
Exactly.
I didn't think he had the best game and stuff like that, but I'm not prepared to just write Lovelace off. What we need to see from him now is him staying fit between now and the end of the season.
Yeah,
because every time he's got an opportunity or made a start, then something happens, a hamstring goes or stuff like that. So it's key now for him to maintain a level of fitness so that he is in and around the squad and hopefully gets opportunity. I do think the way the game went yesterday was a bit of a stuffy game and stuff like that. And just, it just wasn't to be that. But I'm not willing to write him off. I think we have seen in flashes that he's got something about him. Interesting to know kind of what his best position is, because again, we've seen him kind of when he's got to the first team utilised out wide. He's maybe played a bit more central for the youth team. Martin, you could maybe tell me if I'm talking gibberish on that. But, it'll be interesting, where we see his long-term and his best position be.
What's your thoughts on what Kieran said about McCausland, Stuart? Do you go along with that? Has he been given enough time to show if he's good enough?
So I think McCausland's slightly different because I think he has been in and around that team for longer and has more experience of being in and around it. I was disappointed in McCausland yesterday. I think that is a game where he should have maybe taken it by the scruff of the neck and, been really attacking that fullback. He didn't do it at all, really, in the first half, to the extent that when I think one of the times where somebody was down, the manager actually called him all the way across the pitch to the touchline, and it was almost as if the manager was having to G him up to say, "Come on, need a wee bit more." He did start to do that in the second half. Got his goal, took that well, etc. I think he should be mixing up his game a wee bit more. There is far too much cutting inside. I think that's too obvious now, and I think against better teams they'll deal with that easier. I'm not convinced that Ross McCausland is going to make it at Rangers. It's probably unlikely that we get Czerny after this year. Do I envisage then whoever the Rangers manager is going out and buying somebody to play on the right-hand side? Yes, I do, because I don't think that they'll see Ross McCausland as being the one who steps up and makes that position their own. I hope he proves me wrong, but I just don't see it. And I think, certainly I know from where I sat yesterday, there was a kind of a lot of similar feelings from fans who go to the games regularly that they're just not seeing enough from him.
Yeah, quite possibly. And he wasn't talked about as somebody who was going to break through into the first team when he did.
Yes.
So I suppose you've got to ask, has he managed to take his opportunity?
I think he did. He did at the start, Martin.
Mm-hmm.
But and I don't know if he's maybe just going through that. You do see sometimes you see a dip when a player, they burst onto the scene, they look really good and stuff like that, but then maybe that second season it seems to kind of drift away. It's a big kind of 6 months, I would say, for Ross McCausland in terms of where the manager sees him, where the football club see him, but also where the fans see him. As well.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Kieran, it would appear, albeit yet, not being confirmed, that we can finally put will Lowry make it into the first team? Is Lowry good enough? Has he got the right mentality, etc., etc., etc.? It would appear, Kieran, that he is very, very close to signing permanently for Wycombe Wanderers.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think he was going to make it. The lads had a lot of personal things to deal with, right? And I totally understand that. But talent aside, I thought he was good. I thought he was an all-right player. Is he really any better than what we have at the moment? No. Is he going to improve anything? No. So I just personally feel that maybe now is the right time to shake his hand and say, look, thanks for what you did for the B team, a couple of appearances you had, and all the best, because he had that time at Hearts. He never done amazing. He scored a couple of goals. He looked okay in flashes, but you can't have a player on the books that just looks okay in flashes. And I know that says a lot because a lot of our team is exactly that. But I just feel that maybe, now is the right time. Shake his hand, say thank you, and let him go.
I think it's one of those ones, Stuart. It's because he was talked about for so long. And I got to watch him a lot at youth level, at the B team level, and in the Lowland League. And he was head and shoulders above everybody else in the park. So it was clear to everybody watching that he had talent. It was just, where's the ceiling for that talent? And it would appear anyway, it's not Rangers.
I don't think there's ever been any doubt about the fact that Lowry is a very talented footballer. But again, and there could be various reasons for this, and just what we've talked about, he's got to that point where, yes, we've got a genuine talent, and then it drifts. It doesn't, like you say, break through that ceiling to say, right, I'm now a mainstay of this first team squad, and then I'm a mainstay of the first 11. Talent is absolutely there, but for whatever reason, and I know he's had some personal issues and stuff like that, which clearly can impact on a young kid, that it's just not working out. I do agree. I think it's time is right that maybe he just needs a change of scenery, maybe fall in love with the game again, and see where it takes him. And I'll, best wishes to him. Again, it's a shame that it's not going to be at Rangers, but he's so far out the picture now that it's there's no way back from that. So that's another, like I say, another sad one. It's not going to make it, but it's just it's the way of it, and Rangers need to try and get that answer as to how can we get more of these really talented youngsters to stay with us and cement themselves in that Rangers squad.
I think the point that Brian makes here, Kieran, is spot on, because when you're talking about a player who has the talent that Lowry does have, evidently has it, and he's shown it. Clement's not the first manager to just not play him. And as much as we can sit here and we can berate Rangers for the lack of opportunities that youth players are given, when you have somebody who is clearly above the rest, talent-wise, and 3 or 4 managers refuse to play him, then you have to say, well, hold on a minute, maybe this isn't about is he good enough, maybe this is about his mentality.
I wonder if he was one of the ones that Goldson didn't name, but remember when he said that it was the youth players that weren't really listening, they weren't exactly respectful. Mind you did that wee interview a while ago.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was maybe, obviously he wouldn't name names at the time, but I wonder if he was maybe one of them. I think at Hearts, I seen something that it was the same thing. It was his discipline, it was his mentality. It could just be his overall attitude. Listen, like we said, no one's ever shied away from it. The boy's been through a hell of a lot in his personal life. To maybe put that on the back burner and play football wasn't his way of doing things. Everyone grieves differently. Everyone copes with things differently. And maybe it's just a hurdle that he's not quite got over. And like Stuart said, maybe a change of scenery can be the thing that wakes him up and realises that I've got the talent. Now can I prove that I'm worthy of a start somewhere else? Because like Robert Robertson said as well, I hope he does get the chance to stick fingers up to everybody that truly said he wasn't good enough, because we've all said the talent is there. He was good on the ball. He wasn't afraid to shoot. He would take somebody on. But then the next time he would get a chance, he would forget he was even playing. So I hope he gets that chance to go down there or elsewhere, wherever it may be, to show that he could be a mainstay in a team and maybe get a bigger move when he's a little bit older, because he's not young. He's not really, really young anymore. He's getting to that age where he's going to have to play football. He isn't going to make it as a footballer.
Yeah,
So
I mean, that can be said for quite a lot of them as well, Kieran.
yeah, yeah.
Once you hit that 21, 22, you really have to, if you haven't already, start playing football regularly. Otherwise, you're going to fade away, as Michael's saying there. I mean, Lowry is your Paddy McCourt, which is, I mean, different types of players, but I get the analogy. I completely get it. Did you know this, Stuart? Wait till I tell you this. Super chat for Jim Sloan, channel legend. Heard on the radio, this is Blue Monday, the most depressing day of the year. Cheer up. Did you know that, Stuart?
Yeah, it was the first thing I was greeted with when I went into the office this morning, was that, it's Blue Monday and everybody had to try and be positive. After my first call of the day, that positivity went straight out the window, I have to say. So it felt like bloody Blue Monday. But yes,
That's
I did
because
know
of
that.
that's because of the type of job you choose to do, which will remain unnamed.
Well, maybe yes, that's my fault. Then that's true. But yes, I did know that. But hopefully, we've brought some positivity and enjoyment to people's Blue Monday, Martin.
No, we haven't.
All right, okay.
No, we absolutely haven't. But Jim Sloan has brought positivity to the rabble, because all these super chats, all the members are the ones, and everybody who tunes in are the ones that help keep the podcast going. So thank you very much to Jim and everybody else. And from the 3rd of February, our memberships are changing dramatically. There's going to be a lot more content put out. It's going to look a lot more like a TV show than what it is a members YouTube members page. There's going to be so much content that you're not even going to have enough time to watch it all. That's how much content there's going to be. So if you haven't yet and you're in a position to do so, then use the links in the description and become a member today, and you will get hundreds of content, millions of content. I've never done so much recording in all my life. That's all I'm going to say on that. And please do like, share, and subscribe as well. And check out Rabble Island. Donald puts in so much effort and time into it. Check out the store. If there's anything you like there, then buy it. There we go. Easy as that. We've got a game on Thursday, Kieran, against one of the biggest names in football. Not one of the best teams in football, Kieran. I'm very reluctant, though, to sit here and say we should go to Old Trafford on Thursday and take the game to Man U, and we should beat Man U at Old Trafford on Thursday, because these things have a way of, if you do that, of really, really biting you in the arse.
Well, you've got Garnacho running it to have for a start. You've got Robin Proper up against Hoyland, etc. So, I mean, it's going to be a tough one. But then
Bruno Fernandes is going to deal with asking. So
yeah, that's what I mean. There is an Igaman. I hope that he takes Maguire for a walk if it's him that's in the Man U back line. But I honestly don't know. You could probably just stick a tenner on now that there's going to be a goal from some sort of corner, or a set piece. There will be some sort of goals. You could probably put on a couple of fouls. And I think Diallo's going to have a wee score to settle. I think that he's going to want to show that he was indeed Rangers class. The fact we thought he wasn't, well, some people thought he wasn't, is baffling. I think that boy was unbelievable. He didn't show it all the time, but you could just see the way he went about it. He was maybe a bit timid for the Scottish game, but I think he'll have a score to settle against us. I absolutely do. I don't think it'll be anything malicious, but I think he'll want to get one up on us. I just hope that we show up. It's a Thursday night. Stranger things have happened. Even with a dip in form. I mean, I don't think the 5-0 against Fraserburgh is going to absolutely rejuvenate the squad, but I'm just hoping that we go down fighting at least. I think that the game against Spurs, we done good. I think Man United will be a total different game. They have a total different game plan. Amarin have them playing a different way. Granted, they're not playing great just now. Unfortunately, one of these days, I think Amarin's plan is just going to click, and let's just hope that isn't Thursday.
Is this the most confident, Stuart, that Rangers have probably ever went to Old Trafford? And by that, I mean the supporters.
Yeah. I mean, I think that probably says more about the state that Man United are in than where we are, although it's a Thursday night, and I've said repeatedly on this podcast, this Rangers team are a different animal when it comes to European games. Not just this season, but over the last few seasons, we shouldn't be going there fearing it. Let's be honest, there's more pressure on Man United than there is us on Thursday night. Man United beat us, then it's a bit like reverse of your Rangers Fraserburgh. People will expect Man United to be beating Rangers given the amount of finance that they've ploughed into that team. But if they don't,
over £1 billion spent on a squad in 10 years.
So they are they're in a poor way, massively inconsistent. We are a different animal when it comes to European football. And there should be no pressure on us. It's just a pity that we've got some injuries and suspensions in and around us, because that, if we'd have went there with a kind of fully fit squad to choose from, I think that, it would have been really interesting. But I'd certainly say, yes, it's this, just given where they are, it's certainly the most confident that we should be. Still a really tough game, but let's go and enjoy it.
There's people saying Man U make us look like a well-run club, which I think is probably true.
And by the way, also to add to that, who would have thought when this draw was made that actually we're going to Old Trafford going, do you know what? If we do get beat, we're still in a really, really good position. I think we looked at that kind of double header of Spurs and Man United and thought, geez, that could be the nail in the coffin for us. Let's be honest. But we've done so well in this group stage that, would it be a complete surprise if we went there and got a result? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
But would it also be a complete surprise if we came away from there losing 4-0?
In Europe, maybe. Martin. In Europe, maybe. I think I said that, bizarrely, you've probably got a bit more confidence about Rangers going to Old Trafford and getting a result than you do about us going to Tannadice on Sunday.
Sure, I've seen people saying that they were more confident about going away to Man U than they were Tottenham at home.
Well, yeah, but then when you look at our away form in Europe, I mean, this manager is undefeated, isn't he? Away from home, or he's undefeated in 7 or 8 games. So, whatever it is about European football, this manager gets it, and this squad of players get it. So go there, enjoy it, be a cracking atmosphere. But we can get at this Man United team. They've got players that can hurt us. And yes, when he scored that hat trick the other night, I thought it's a surefire that Diallo's going to score against, come back and haunt us and score against us. But am I looking forward to seeing Eggman up against Harry Maguire? 100%.
Well, it's a chance, Kieran, for Eggman to really shine, to take his opportunity and get even more people talking about him, because there's a hell of a lot of people talking about him.
I mean, between him and I feel like Bajrami will probably have a fantastic game, because once again the eyes are upon them in these type of games. I feel that's when you really see the best of Bajrami, when you've got the rest of the world watching. I think that he'll be quite good. I think him and Eggman's link-up play. I think Czerny will have a good game. I think that if we are often firing, then I feel like Eggman can have a fantastic game. It depends on the service he gets. If we don't give him any service and we starve him of giving him the ball to his feet and just playing it needlessly over his head like we have done before, it's going to be absolutely nothing. But Eggman he's very young. He's came from not a lot by when you hear him speak. He'll be wanting to show that what an unknown player can do as well. And as fans, we've all said we don't want him to go, but could this be the game that he really, really shines and somebody comes in with big money for him? You never know.
If he scores on Thursday, Martin, and plays really well, I'll be amazed if there isn't an offer come in for him. Now, I'm not saying Rangers will accept it, but I think somebody will just test the water, test their resolve in terms of, right, what's it going to take? If we don't, in January, and he keeps, I said this last week, if he keeps that kind of the way he's playing, that improvement, then come the summer, there will definitely be clubs sniffing about. And it's then down to what do we think's the acceptable amount to let him go for.
He's one
75 million.
He's one of the most naturally gifted players I've seen at our club in a while.
He's got something about him.
Yeah.
And by the way, he signed a 5-year contract, so
Mm-hmm.
let's no, we're in the prime position here. We might need to do something, maybe giving him a bit of a wage increase at some point. I think that should be on the cards. But yeah, I can see if he has a good game on Thursday. It wouldn't surprise me that somebody just makes a cheeky bid to see how we react.
Yeah, and JD, I did see that video. The one bad news we do have, folks, is that it looks as though Anthony will be going out to Real Betis. I'd have felt a lot more comfortable if he was playing to it, because that boy is mince. He's good at spinning in a circle with the ball at his feet. He's really good at that. He's a world champion at that. But he's a nightmare on the pitch. Anyway, folks, that will do us for Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Kieran and Stuart.
Well done, the women's team, by the way. I know we've just had a pod about it, but well done, the women's team.
Yes, through to the cup final, beating Celtic again, and the Celtic manager coming out with a load of tripe.
And by the way, the sending off for the Rangers manager might be one of the most diabolical decisions I think I've ever seen.
I watched the last 30 minutes of that game, Stuart, and you could tell the referee was just desperate for 5 minutes of fame.
Aye, I mean, absolutely hopeless. I didn't obviously. I've seen just the highlights, but it's not just the men's game clearly that in Scotland that are impacted by terrible officiating, because that was shocking yesterday.
Absolutely honking. Please do like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff, and consider becoming a member and really help support the show. I'm talking about members. We are back at 9 p.m. tonight for the EPL show. For all members, so do make sure and tune into that and get the lowdown on Man U getting pumped again at home. Let's hope the same thing happens on Thursday. Do you know the only thing that can really spoil the game on Thursday is a really bad ref, because we've seen refs in Europe before that can really, really spoil a game. So let's just hope that doesn't happen. But thank you, Kieran. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. Thank you for helping to support the show, and we'll speak to you all very, very soon.